Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We are located on the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by Fayetteville State University and WUNC Chapel Hill. Today is 1 March 2018. It's Thursday, and it's 10 o'clock, and your radio hosts today are Clark and
Nancy.
And we will be reading the news for today's edition of the Fayetteville Observer.
And we're going to begin today with your weather. Of course, it's raining outside. We're going to have a high of 74, though. But we're going to have heavy thunderstorms this afternoon about the time you go home from work, or 3 to 4 o'clock, with some damaging winds. Tonight it will drop to 45, still having showers around and mostly cloudy. But ta-da! Friday, sun comes out. Mostly sunny, windy, and cooler. High of 61, but ooh, a low of 35. Going to Saturday, it's only going to get to be 58 degrees and a low of 35. Breezy with plenty of sunshine. Let's go to Sunday. We have a lower high of only 56 and a low of 34, but it's going to be very sunny. Plenty of sunshine. Moving to Monday, we have a high of 57, 1 degree warmer, and a low of 36, 2 degrees higher. Moving toward Tuesday, cloudy again. High of 59, a low of 44, rain in the afternoon. Wednesday, we will have a high of 63, a low of 38, sun and some clouds. So it's still chilly. Alright, looking at the sun and the moon. What time did the sun rise today? It rose at 6:45 a.m. and the sun will set tonight at 6:11 p.m. The moon rises today at 7:08 p.m. and the moon will set today at 7:16. Sunrise tomorrow, Friday, is at 6:44 a.m., 1 minute earlier, and the sun sets tomorrow on Friday 1 minute later at 6:12 p.m. because the days are getting longer. We have a full moon on March 1st today, a full moon. And we have our last moon on March 9th. On March 17th, we have our new moon, and on March 24th, we have the first moon. There is your weather for today, Thursday, March 1st, 2018, from the Fayetteville Observer.
Today's applause goes to Chance Austin Bryant. He was named to the 2017 Fall Dean's List at Greensboro College. And another applause goes to Kaylin Maxwell Kohut of Southern Pines. Kaylin was named to the Fall 2017 Dean's List at Greensboro College. And the last applause goes to Michaela Shea Richardson of Eagle Springs. Michaela was named to the Fall 2017 Dean's List at Greensboro College also. And today in history, today is Thursday, the 1st of March 2018. It is the 60th day of this year, and there are 305 days left in 2018. Today's highlight: on the 1st of March in 1790, President George Washington signed a measure authorizing the first United States Census. Census Day was August 2nd in 1790, or is. And on today's date in history, in 1565, the city of Rio de Janeiro was founded by Portuguese knight Estácio de Sá. On today's date in history, in 1781, the Continental Congress declared the Articles of Confederation to be in force following ratification by the state of Maryland. On today's date in history, in 1867, Nebraska became the 37th state as President Andrew Johnson signed a proclamation making the Cornhuskers a state. And on today's date, in 1893, inventor Nikola Tesla first publicly demonstrated radio during a meeting at the National Electric Light Association in St. Louis by transmitting electromagnetic energy without wires. And on today's date, in 1954, four Puerto Rican nationalists opened fire from the spectators gallery of the U.S. House of Representatives, wounding 5 members of Congress. The United States also detonated a dry fuel hydrogen bomb in 1954 on today's date, codenamed Castle Bravo, at Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands. And finally, on today's date in 1968, Johnny Cash married June Carter at the First Methodist Church in Franklin, Kentucky. Today's celebrity birthday, locally that is, goes to Francis Johnson. And we say, Nancy, happy birthday to Francis Johnson.
Happy birthday, Francis Johnson.
And other birthdays, actor Robert Clary is 92. Singer Harry Belafonte is 91. Actor Robert Conrad is 83. Rock singer Mike DeAbo of the Manfred Mann Band is 74. Actor-director Ron Howard, I believe that is Opie.
There you go.
Little Opie is now 64 years old. Actress Catherine Bach is 63. Actor Russell Wong is 55. Actor George Eads is 51. Actor Javier Bardem is 49. Actor Mark Paul Gosselaar is 44. Singer Tate Stevens is 43. Actor Jensen Ackles is 40. Actress Lupita Nyong'o is 35. And wrapping it all up is pop singer Keisha. Pop singer Keisha is 31 years old today. And that concludes the birthdays for today.
All right, we're in the Need to Know section of the Fayetteville Observer. And here we go. Are you hungry for some egg rolls? Well, number 1, the Church Food Bazaar. The Fayetteville Korean Baptist Church at 6873 Cliffdale Road is having its Church Food Bazaar today and Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. 10 spring rolls are $6 and a bulgogi combo plate is $8. This event is a fundraiser for mission projects. Number 2, Safe Schools Meeting. The public is invited to a meeting at the Kiwanis Recreation Center, 352 Devers Street at 2 p.m. Saturday to discuss how to make schools safer in light of the recent mass shooting at a Florida high school. The meeting, Moms Demand Safety of Our Kids in School, is being organized by Naveed Aziz, Spring Lake physician, and a Democratic candidate for the State Senate District 21 seat. Number 3, Girl Scout cookies. This weekend is your last chance to stock up on Girl Scout cookies. The annual campaign ends Sunday. Girl Scouts are still looking to donate 1 million boxes of cookies in support of Operation Cookie Drop, a community service project that delivers cookies to our military through donated boxes of Girl Scouts cookies. People may donate to Operation Cookie Drop at booths where cookies are sold. Did you ever get a box of Girl Scout cookies?
Did I ever get a box of them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I worked as a mighty civilian over there at Fort Bragg, we gave away thousands of Girl Scout cookies. So I never ate Girl Scout cookies after that whole thing, doing that for 8 years, giving away Girl Scout cookies.
All right, well, 1 million boxes they give to the military.
Yeah, well, I don't know if my hands touched 1 million boxes, but I touched a lot of boxes.
I know you did.
Yes.
All right, we have a Clean Energy Summit. Desmond Wheatley, President, CEO, and Chairman of Envision Solar, will be the industry keynote speaker during the 2018 Sandhills Clean Energy Summit on March 9th. He will speak at noon in the General Classroom building at Fayetteville Technical Community College. The event will feature expert panels, roundtables, and workshops on March 9th and March 10th. Summit is free and open to the public. Tickets are $30, that's right, $30 to attend the 2 keynote luncheons. They are available at sustainableSandhills.org/donate. Now, just remember, we have the egg rolls, that's today. If you're interested in today, from 9 to 5 p.m. is the Church Food Bazaar. And the Girl Scout cookies stop this Sunday. We want to hear from you. Please submit your events in writing at least 10 days in advance, or you can email your calendar at fayobserver.com or fax your details to 486. That's right, 486-3545. And if you have any questions, you may call 486-3500.
Now, Nancy, I was just wondering, that was a Korean church?
This is the one.
Is that a Korean church or what?
Right, it's the Korean Baptist Church on Cliffdale Road.
Well,
That's where we've gone before.
Are you sure it's egg rolls or spring rolls? What does it say there?
It says spring rolls.
Spring rolls, okay, all right. Everybody loves spring rolls. Do you like spring rolls?
I love them.
Me too. Well, here's your public safety for today. The Cumberland County arrests are as follows. James Allen Graves, age 25, of the 900 block of Millstream Road, was charged Wednesday with 4 counts of trafficking in opium or heroin, 2 counts of attempting to obtain a controlled substance by fraud, and 1 count each of attempting to traffic in opium or heroin and attempting to obtain a controlled substance by fraud. James Allen Graves' bail was set at $25,000. Justin Luther Hyatt, age 30, of the 6500 block of Spruce Wood Road, was charged Wednesday with attempted robbery with a dangerous weapon, misdemeanor assault, and misdemeanor injury to property. Justin Luther Hyatt's bail was set at $25,000. Branson Scott Grimble, age 36, of the 1900 block of Sloan Avenue, was charged Wednesday with interfering with an electronic monitoring device, misdemeanor larceny, and misdemeanor possession of stolen property. Brandon Scott Grimble's bail was set at $5,000. Gene Andrew Cooper, age 45, of the 6500 block of Jeffrey Drive, was charged Wednesday with being a fugitive from justice in Canandaigua, New York. Must be near the Canada-New York border, because it's, Canandaigua. Anyway, Gene Andrews Cooper, he is wanted for theft offenses, and his bail was set at $75,000. Ricky Averett, age 59, of Danville, Virginia, was charged Tuesday with receiving or transferring stolen vehicles. Ricky Averette, his bail was set at $5,000. And in the break-in department, On Hardy Street, it was reported at 2:39 p.m. on Monday that jewelry was taken. And on Brayhead Street, it was reported at 1:03 p.m. on Monday that nothing was missing. But they filed a report anyway. Muskegon Drive, it was reported at 1:51 p.m. on Monday. Electronics and a purse was taken. Finally, in Hope Mills on Legion Road, Service Center on Legion Road, it was reported at 1:56 a.m. in the morning, Monday, that nothing was reported missing. And this wraps up your public safety for today.
All right, now listeners, we're going to have a little history lesson. FSU speaker recounts Lafayette's stance against slavery. This was composed by Myron B. Pitts. A curator of items related to the Marquis de Lafayette reminded us Tuesday that our city's namesake was not only a hero of the American Revolution, but a fierce opponent of slavery. That's right, did you hear me? He was an opponent of slavery. He was a wonderful advocate for humanity in so many ways, says Diane Wyndham Shaw, Director of Special Collections and Archives at Lafayette College in Easton, Pennsylvania. She spoke to a group of Fayetteville State University students and members of the local Lafayette Society in the Lions Science Annex on campus. The FSU Black History Club and the Society organized the event. When I scanned the faces of the audience, I thought Lafayette might have liked the diverse gathering himself at this historically black university. The French aristocrat opposed the enslavement of black Africans, which he saw as a monstrous crime, incompatible with the goals of the American Revolution. Lafayette was outspoken and worked on George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, who were Virginia slave owners. Shaw said Washington made the decision to free his enslaved workers after his death. Lafayette almost certainly helped influence his decision, she said. She had earlier noted that Lafayette's college's collection of the Marquis letters included exchanges on the subject between he and Washington. Lafayette discussed with Washington what eventually became the Marquis' failed experiment in what he called gradual emancipation of slaves. He purchased property and nearly 70 slaves in the French colony of Cayenne. The state managers paid them wages with the eventual goal of freeing them. But the slaves were confiscated and resold after Lafayette was arrested in Austria as a prisoner of war in 1792, a consequence of the French Revolution. Lafayette and Jefferson debated vigorously over slavery, particularly the possibility of expansion of the practice to the western territories, which Lafayette opposed. Shaw showed on the projector screen a quote attributed to Lafayette by English abolitionist Thomas Clarkson. "I would never have drawn my sword in the cause of America if I could have conceived that thereby I was founding a land of slavery." Lafayette's sword, Shaw said, is one of the items in Lafayette College's collection and figures prominently in the school's ceremonies. The collection includes 400 documents related to Lafayette, 750 prints and engravings, 3,000 books and articles, and a number of paintings, she said. Some of the letters make reference to James Armistead, a slave and double agent who worked for Lafayette and operated out of the camp of British General Cornwallis during the Revolution. Shaw said after the British surrender in Yorktown, Cornwallis visited Lafayette and was taken aback to see his spy, James, looking quite at home in Lafayette's headquarters. Lafayette later helped secure Armistead's freedom with a letter he wrote to the Virginia General Assembly on his return trip to America, where he was feted as a military hero. At least 3 newspapers in the South advised slaveholders to prevent their workers from seeing him. Lafayette went out of his way to meet in the homes of African Americans, including Hannah Till, a 104-year-old woman who was an acquaintance from the Revolution. He learned she was about to be evicted from her house and quietly arranged to pay her rent, says Shaw. Several of the FSU history students at Tuesday's event are enrolled in Professor Rob Tabor's class on the French Revolution. They are role-playing events in Lafayette's life. I didn't know he was so well-rounded, Senior Bediah Hannon said. I just thought he was a general in the Army. Brianna Washington, also a senior, said she was amazed at Lafayette's humility at a young age. She praised him for being on the right side of a good fight instead of just going with the majority. Senior Valencia Wagner said she was impressed that the Marquis made a point of seeing African Americans in their homes. It's very personal, she said. It humanizes him. He's such an iconic person that you sometimes forget his interactions with people. I came away with a feeling I've had before, that the city's namesake is a perfect symbol for both the city's diversity and military heritage. We should play him up even more than we do. Columnist Myron B. Pitts can be reached at mpitts@fayobserver.com, or you can call Myron at 486-3559.
And we have a suspect in the year 2002 slang that has been brought here to Fayetteville, to the Cumberland County Detention Center. A man accused in a 2002 murder that was considered a cold case returned Wednesday from Arkansas and is now being held in the Cumberland County Detention Center. Isaac Micah McDonald, age 42, of Fort Smith, Arkansas, was flown on a plane provided by the State Bureau of Investigation to Cumberland County on Wednesday afternoon. He was officially arrested at 1:30 p.m. according to documents in the Cumberland County Magistrate's office. Isaac Micah Donald was served with a copy of the first-degree murder indictment that was handed up by the Cumberland County Grand Jury on the 12th of February. He is accused of killing Janet Lorraine Norris, age 39, whose body was found on the 20th of April in 2002. She was stuffed inside her Mazda Protege that had been abandoned in a field on Kennedy Street, just off US 301, less than 2 miles from her home. Isaac McDonald was arrested in Arkansas on the 20th of February and waived extradition to return to Fayetteville. Isaac McDonald was Norris's boyfriend when she died, according to Charles Desponzio, who was in charge of the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office Homicide Division at the time of her death. Charlie Desponzio, now an investigator in the District Attorney's Office, has said there was a lot of circumstantial evidence when the case was investigated, but no one was charged because of what were considered obstacles. That decision was made by the former district attorney, the late Ed Grannis. One concern was the autopsy report from the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner said that Norris died from asphyxiation and listed the manner of death as undetermined. Charlie Desponzio reviewed the case with District Attorney Billy West and his staff in September, and they agreed to reopen the investigation. Because Isaac McDonald was indicted, his bail must be set by a Superior Court judge. That will be done on Monday at 1 p.m. next week, court documents said. If you have any questions about this article, you may call Nancy McCleary at 910-486-3568.
We're about to have an election.
We are?
We are. Coming around in May. May 8th, that's a Tuesday. All legislative seats to be contested. This is written by staff writer Paul Wolverton. Election filings closed at noon Wednesday with a promise of a feisty set of midterm elections in Cumberland County races and for the General Assembly and Congress. Primary is May 8th, and the general election is November 6th. For the first time in modern memory, every single state legislative seat will have a Republican and a Democrat on the ballot in November. Might be the first time ever all seats are contested. Retired longtime legislative advisor Jerry Cohen said on Twitter. By comparison, in November 2016, 58 of 170 seats in the state legislature, more than a third, had just a single candidate on the ballot. Statewide and nationwide Democrats have been asserting that their voters are energized by 2016's election of Republican President Donald Trump. They recruited challengers for every Republican candidate for what they predict will be a blue wave of victories. They hope to gain North Carolina congressional seats and break the Republican Party's veto-proof majority in the General Assembly. Republicans did similar recruiting this year to ensure no Democrat can skate unopposed into office in November. I am extremely pleased that North Carolina voters will see more choices at the ballot box. I applaud both parties for doing the hard work of candidate recruitment, said Republican State House Rules Committee Chairman David Lewis of Harnett County. We can all look forward to a vigorously contested election this coming November. Now, further down the ballot in Cumberland County, Republicans are challenging incumbent Democrats in most races despite the county's long history of favoring Democratic candidates. Republicans have proven they can win in Cumberland County when they strive to appeal to voters outside their party. Now the final filings. The final day of candidate filing brought Republican Linda DeVore at Fayetteville and Democrat Al Flores of Hope Mills to the elections office to put in their papers to run for the State House of Representatives. DeVore hopes to unseat Democratic House Representative Billy Richardson for the House 44 seat. She said voters should elect her because she would be part of the Republican majority in the legislature, therefore better positioned to influence public policy. DeVore also called for more civility in public discourse. It severely strains the limits of our representative form of government when identity politics and political correctness are driving discussion rather than good ideas, DeVore said. And DeVore goes on and talks about her point of view. All of the candidates for the 2018 Cumberland County elections are listed in the Fayettville Observer, and that's on page A1. We have them all there. So if you could get your Fayettville Observer and review who you're going to vote for.
The time now is 10:30 in the morning on Thursday, the first day of March 2018. And I would like to remind everyone out there that this is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service. It is a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University. Our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at 910-672-1600 or call the toll-free number 844-709-5656. Your radio hosts today are Clark and
Nancy.
And we are proud to serve you today. And we have some breaking news for you today on the 1st of March 2018, Thursday at 10:31 a.m. It is the Gates 4 Golf and Country Club Tournament. This is the 8th annual for the Blind and Visually Impaired Golf Tournament fundraiser. We read radio.org and news and info through radio receivers to the blind and visually impaired. This is a $250 per team or $65 per player donation. Your lunch and your dinner will be provided. There are free beverage carts that will be provided. It is a $400 value for the low price of $250 per team or $65 per player. Now, it's a happening thing on the 7th of April. That's when this golf tournament begins, 7 April 2018. That's Saturday. And here's what they've got here. They've got a $500 cash prize. The first place team overall gets that, and the second place Gates 4 golf certificate. They are going to have a new Chevrolet car that goes to the first hole-in-one at a pre-designated hole. So if you are out there playing golf and hole number 7 is the pre-designated hole and you make a hole-in-one, you win the car, a new Chevrolet car. There will be also a special ladies division. Ladies and men closest to the pin and long drive. Alright, and remember, it's the 7th of April 2018 on Saturday. And that is all the information. Oh, well, they've got a hamburger and hot dog and pasta bar there.
Oh, that sounds yummy.
Yeah, they're going to hand out a Panera Bread box lunch. Eat and go. So, here you have the dining hours at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I suppose it's after the tournament. Let me see when it begins. I believe it begins right here. Registration is at 11 o'clock. And you tee off. The first tee is at 12 noon. There you go, Nancy. I've read the Gates 4 Golf and Country Club fundraiser.
Well, I can't wait.
No, for the visually and blind, visually impaired and the blind. It's the 8th annual. So, you know, if you're out there and you know somebody that likes to play golf, let them know.
All right. Now, here we have kind of a sad thing. Maybe it's a good thing. Steve Devane tells us that the Crown Coliseum vendor sues over the lost contract. The company that provided food and beverages to the Crown Complex for 20 years is suing Cumberland County and the company that was awarded the contract. Center Plate filed suit in January against the county commissioners. the County Civic Center Commission, and against Spectra Venue Management. Spectra, which manages the Crown Complex, was awarded the contract after the Commission sent out a request for proposals. The new contract with Spectra starts today. County Attorney Rick Moorfield reported that at a hearing in a Greensboro courtroom late Wednesday afternoon, a judge declined to grant Centerplate's motion for a temporary restraining order that would have put a hold on the new contract, according to Sally Shute, a county spokeswoman. The county's response to Centerplate's request for the temporary restraining order says the process was fair, unbiased, and that a contract awarded to Spectra was proper. 10-year contract with Centerplate was scheduled to expire last year, but it was extended through Wednesday while the Commission reconsidered it. The 2007 contract with Centerplate called for the company to spend $750,000 on debit machines, additional food and beverage kiosks, and extra checkout counters at the Crown. The Crown received 40% of revenue from concession sales under the contract. The lawsuit alleges that Spectra Management used its position as manager of the complex to help its sister company, Spectra Food, secure the contract. The lawsuit alleges that Spectra Management misused Centerplate's confidential financial and trade secret information and used insider information to win the bid. The lawsuit says that as part of Centerplate's contract, the company was required to submit confidential sales information to the complex management. Centerplate submitted the information in reasonable reliance on confidentiality provisions in the company's contract, the lawsuit says. Spectra's proposal for the contract reveals strikingly similar financial terms, pricing, and sales information to those contained in Centerplate's confidential sales. The lawsuit asked the court to rule Spectra's contract invalid and award the contract to Centerplate as the only responsive bidder. The lawsuit alleges the Commission deprived the public of a fair and unbiased, open, and conflict-free bidding process by violating state law and county contracting policy. The county's response says that the confidentiality clause used by Centerplate pertains to non-public information. Jim Grafston, Crown's general manager, did not return a phone call seeking comment Wednesday. A lawyer for Centerplate did not reply to a voicemail or email Wednesday night. So you can write staff writer Steve Devane. Ask him a question about this at sdevane@fayobserver.com or call Steve at 486-3572.
Now we have a little something of interest here. FEMA says there's no guarantee of the dam repair to help. A representative of the Federal Emergency Management Agency said Wednesday that the agency could not guarantee a reimbursement commitment to the city of Fayetteville for the planned Devonwood Lower Dam reconstruction. That dam is also known as the McFadden Drive Dam. The city owns the dam and the road over the structure that's off Morganton Road to the north end of the Devonwood subdivision. I cannot make any kind of guarantees. FEMA cannot make any guarantees, said David Mace, a media relations manager with FEMA. There won't be any kind of determination made today, said David Mace, the media relations manager of FEMA. David Mace met at City Hall for about 45 minutes with the city officials, including Public Service Director Robert Stone and his team, contacts with the State Dam Safety Program, and members of the staff for U.S. Representative Richard Hudson and Robert Pittenger. We just talked about the need to develop a public assistant project worksheet, said John Larch, Assistant City Engineer. That is a project under FEMA to get reimbursed for damages from Hurricane Matthew. Afterward, the contingent gathered for a site inspection at the Devonwood Lower Dam. This dam supports part of McFadden Drive. FEMA considers the city's dam repairs to be complete, but the North Carolina Dam Safety Office said the damage requires more repairs, according to Public Services Director Robert Stone. Design work must start soon to avoid a potential $600,000 cost increase because of federal wetland mitigation fee requirements that kick in once a lake has been empty for more than 2 years. We are trying to determine exactly what the damage was from Hurricane Matthew, said Mace, and what needs to be done. Fayetteville City Councilman Jim Arp said it was his understanding that the paperwork is tied up with FEMA as a result of the city performing temporary stabilization repairs on the dam to preserve McFadden Drive. Well, about 10 days ago, he contacted the offices of Hudson and Pittenger seeking their help at the federal level to get this neighborhood back where it needs to be. We are trying to break this bureaucratic logjam that we have, said Jim Arp. We, the city, could spend $3 million on this thing. But why spend $3 million of our own money when they could reimburse you? Mace said the agency is going through the standard process after a disaster. We have to make sure we are following FEMA guidelines. If the agency approves the request, the federal government would pay the standard reimbursement of 75% on the dam reconstruction, according to David Mace, the media relations manager with FEMA. The city is responsible for the remaining 25% of that monies, although the state has committed to covering that portion of the expense. On the 8th of October 2016, Hurricane Matthew damaged the dam as water overtopped the facility and caused some slope failure on the downstream side of the dam. The city later conducted an assessment of the dam to determine the estimated cost for repairs, and that estimate came to $2.9 million. The Devonwood Lower Dam is one of the 2 city-owned dams damaged during the 2016 Hurricane Matthew storm. Jim Arp said he also has asked the visiting delegation to help with Mirror Lake. The hurricane damaged portions of Mirror Lake Drive and the Mirror Lake Dam in the Van Stories Hills neighborhood, and those repairs for that dam are expected to cost $1.9 million. On Tuesday, Pittenger and Hudson released a joint statement on the Devonwood Lower Dam reconstruction. And U.S. Representatives Richard Hudson and Robert Pittenger said, "We continue to work closely with our colleagues in the North Carolina delegation to secure federal funds and help our community rebuild from Hurricane Matthew's destruction. We have maintained an open line of communication with both FEMA and state and local officials and have contacted FEMA about the ongoing efforts to repair Devonwood Lower Dam. We both pledge to continue our work together to cut the red tape and ensure that Fayetteville's needs are met." Their representatives in Fayetteville were expected to discuss funding options for the project during their meeting with Mace. Mace is the Media Relations Manager for FEMA. We've been post-Hurricane Matthew now for 16 months, said Jim Arp. We have been told we'd get money from FEMA, and you've got residents now who live here, and they drive by and they see nothing more than a mud hole. Now, staff writer Monica Vendituoli contributed to this report along with Michael Futch. And they can be reached by calling 910-486-3529.
I certainly hope they get their lake back.
Yes, I do. I hope they get all those two dams repaired.
Now, Clark, you know soldiers do amazing things, don't they?
I believe they do, and we read it in the paper every day.
Well, Fort Bragg now is going to simulate a nuclear attack.
Wow, they are? Has it been done, or are they going to do it?
They're going to do it.
In the future.
All right, so Amanda Dolinsinski is writing us this article with photographs. She's a staff writer. And we have soldiers with the 16th Military Police Brigade trained during a simulated nuclear attack exercise yesterday on Fort Bragg. At Fort Bragg this week, soldiers are preparing for what could be the worst day of their lives. Tracking blood supplies and rescue teams pulling people from rubble, dozens of soldiers are simulating a response to a nuclear crisis as part of an exercise to prepare them for a year-long stint as part of a task force that responds to domestic emergencies. Elements of the 18th Airborne Corps are training for the mission at Fort Bragg before a similar exercise in Indiana later this year. At a command post on one of Fort Bragg's training areas, digital maps are lit up with paths of plume from the simulated nuclear explosion, while the soldiers determine where to send the ambulances and medical helicopters. They're calm, but working with urgency. This would be after potentially the worst day in our nation's history, said Colonel Larry Dewey, commander of the 16th Military Police Brigade. This summer, elements from the 16th Military Police Brigade and 44th Medical Brigade will take the year-long Joint Task Force Civil Support Mission, charged with leading the response to Homeland Chemical, Biological, Radiological, and Nuclear Crisis. When directed by the President, the task force organizes to supplement efforts of civilian counterparts, including the Federal Emergency Management Agency. In the training scenario at Fort Bragg, the elements in the task force are activated to respond to a nuclear explosion in Pittsburgh. A dirty bomb exploded during the city's marathon, and the scenario has challenged the military to find, treat, and decontaminate survivors. During the training exercise, Dewey watched as leaders from the brigade worked inside an operations tent, tracking the movement of rescue efforts. In a real response situation, soldiers from the 16th Military Police Brigade would be responsible for urban search and rescue missions to pull trapped people from rubble, as well as decontaminating people who may have been exposed to nuclear dust. Soldiers in the operations tent track each rescue incident, as well as time how long their soldiers can be in areas with high nuclear radiation levels. The task force has never had to be activated, but leaders emphasize the significance of preparing anyway. While it's not likely, it has the potential to be catastrophic, Dewey said. An event like this could overshadow the events of 9/11. The loss of lives would be in the tens of thousands. Soldiers from the 44th Medical Brigade, neighbors on Fort Bragg, are training alongside the 16th Military Police Brigade. The Medical Brigade is training to provide critical medical support in the event of such an emergency. Their efforts would complement local hospitals, which would be overwhelmed by an influx of casualties in a real response. We're prepared to provide care to the homeland, said Lieutenant Colonel Tracy Coffin, executive officer for the brigade. We take it very seriously. We have to be ready to go. In their operations tent, medical soldiers track capacity of hospital beds, blood supply, ambulance movement, and medical helicopter calls. They must dispatch their soldiers to run each of those tasks. Although it would be a devastating event, Coffin said she hopes victims of crisis would take comfort in the swift response and professionalism of the military. I want them to feel that we're there to help them to ensure their area can recover, she said. We're there to help other Americans. This is written by staff writer Amanda Dolinski, and you can reach Amanda at Dolinski@FayettevilleObserver.com, or you may call Amanda at 486-3528. Wow. The soldiers are something else, aren't they?
That sounds a little scary. It seems like we're going back to the Cold War all over again.
I'm serious.
Me too. And now local briefs. Here we have Cliffdale Lane closures delayed. Inclement weather has delayed road closures on Cliffdale Road by 1 week, the North Carolina Department of Transportation said in a news release. Crews will close the eastbound side of the road Tuesday from 9 p.m. until 5 p.m. and the westbound side of the road Wednesday, also from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. The closures were originally scheduled for this week. The closures will allow storm drains to be buried under the pavement as the outer loop, also known as North Carolina Highway 295 and the future Interstate 295. The latest segment of the road will connect the All-American Freeway and Cliffdale Road, and it is scheduled to open this fall. So let me just reiterate here. Crews will close the eastbound side of the road next Tuesday from 9 p.m. until 5 a.m. and the westbound side of the road Wednesday, also from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. And again, those closures were originally scheduled for this week, but they were delayed until next week, ladies and gentlemen. Here we have a Whispering Pines man that dies in a crash in Southern Pines. A Whispering Pines man died in a single vehicle crash in Southern Pines on Tuesday afternoon. The wreck happened at 2:36 p.m. on Niagara Carthage Road at North Connecticut Avenue. The Saab passenger vehicle crashed through a guardrail and came to a stop and caught fire in the engine compartment, authorities said. Bystanders pulled the driver out of the car. That was 77-year-old Thomas Allen Dreyer of Martin Drive. Authorities believe Thomas Allen Dyer may have had a medical emergency before the crash. As you know, he was 77 years old. Emergency personnel began life-saving measures on Thomas Allen Dyer as firefighters worked to extinguish the fire in his car. Dyer was pronounced dead at the scene, officials said. Traffic signal mishap snarls up the traffic. A truck apparently snagged a line supporting traffic signals on Owen Drive, causing part of the busy thoroughfare to shut down for nearly 5 hours Wednesday afternoon. That was yesterday. 5 hours is a long time, especially if you're in a hurry to go someplace. It happened at about 1 p.m. at the Village Drive intersection, said Sean Streepay, a Fayetteville police spokesman. You know, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., that's a long time for a traffic delay. The truck, which did not stop, snagged the line, caused it to sag, and it left the traffic signals dangling 5 feet from the ground. It was right there in front of the drivers, said Officer Sean Streepay. The mishap forced the closure of Owen Drive from Walter Reed to Village Drives, which is the section in front of Cape Fear Valley Medical Center. Drivers were forced to detour on Rayford Road to Robeson Street to Village Drive to Boone Trail to Owen Drive. And this was written by Nancy McCleary. 4 minutes.
All right. Community Conversations Coalition to hold conversation on race. The Fayetteville Cumberland Human Relations Commission, in collaboration with the Community Conversations Coalition, will host the session Race, the Power of an Illusion, the Story We Tell, on March 19th, a news release said. The coalition is a partnership between the Fayetteville Cumberland Human Relations Commission, Cumberland County Association of Educators, Cumberland County Public Library, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, and the Quaker House. The session will include discussion following the viewing of the film The Story We Tell, which is about the history of race from the European conquest of the New World to the American slave system. The evening's discussion will be facilitated by Human Relations Commissioner Sergeant Major Jeffrey L. Wire. The program is free. It will take place at 6 p.m. at the Cumberland County Headquarters Library, 300 Maiden Lane. Wire is a graduate of the Defense Equal Opportunity Management Institute, and he serves as the U.S. Army Forces Command Equal Opportunity Sergeant Major at Fort Bragg. More information is available from the Human Relations Department at 433-1696 or humanrelations@cifanc.us. Written by Monica Vinet-Tuoli.
I would like to remind you that this is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service. It is a United Way Partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call 910-672-1600 or call the toll-free number 844-709-5656. I would also like to remind you about the Gates Fork Golf and Country Club Tournament Fundraiser. It's on the 7th of April, 2018. Your radio host, Sarah Clark, and
Nancy. Going to the obituaries in the Fayetteville Observer, we have the death notices for Cumberland County. The following deaths have been reported. Please see upcoming editions of the Fayetteville Observer for complete obituary information. Going to Cumberland County, Lois Jeanette Schmidt, 68 of Fayetteville, Affordable Cremations. William Gamble, age 82 of Fayetteville, Wiseman Mortuary. In the Cape Fear region, Joel Thomas Gordon, age 62 of Jacksonville, Unity Funeral Home, Fayetteville. Elizabeth Libby Jenkins, 62 of Chadbourn, S&L Funeral Home, Fair Bluff. Eddie Eason Sr., age 69 of Roseboro, Carter Funeral Home, Garland. George Bethay, 72 of St. Paul's, S&L Funeral Home in Maxton. And funerals today, Armstrong William, 50 of Laurenburg, 1 p.m., Unionville Baptist Church. And the burial, Hillside Memorial Park Cemetery, McFadder Funeral Home, Laurel Hill. Conklin Betty, 85 of Lewisburg, 11 a.m. Sullivan's Highland Funeral Service. The burial will be at Melvin Devan Cemetery, White Oak, Sullivan's Highland Funeral Service, and crematory. In Cumberland County, Vaughn J. Mancino. In Hope Mills, on Friday, February 23, 2018, Vaughn Jancine Mancino left this earth. Funeral services will be held on Friday, March 2nd, at St. Anne's Catholic Church. Interment with military honors will follow in Rockfish Memorial Park in Fayetteville. Adcock Funeral Home in Spring Lake. Retired Master Sergeant Harry Junius Autumn, age 86 of Fayetteville, passed away on Saturday, February 24, 2018. Services are entrusted to Rogers and Breeze Funeral Home. James Benjamin Ben Green, age 77 of Fayetteville, passed away on Monday, Friday, 26, 2018, at his home. Services are entrusted to Fayetteville Cremation Services. Yapai J. Lucina, age 35 of Fayetteville, died unexpectedly on Tuesday, February 20th, 2018. Condolences may be left at www.pinecrestfuneralservice.com. Norman Jean Whitted from Fayetteville. Miss Norman Jean Whitted, age 47, Fayetteville, died Tuesday, February 20th, 2018. Colvin Funeral Home and Crematory. Mary Miliaris from Fayetteville, age 98. Mary was 98. Died Tuesday, February 27th, 2018. Her funeral will be Saturday at 11 a.m. at St. Patrick's Cathedral, the Catholic Church there. The visitation will be Jernigan Warren Funeral Home, Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. The burial, Fayetteville Memorial Cemetery, Mausoleum, Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. Vernell Smith from Fayetteville, age 65, died Wednesday, February 21st. His funeral will be Friday at 1 p.m. the Wiseman Mortuary Chapel. Julian R. Walters, age 87, of Fayetteville, died Wednesday, February 28th, 2018. Pinecrest Funeral and Cremation Services, Hope Mills.
And obituaries in the region and elsewhere. In the obituary column is a large memorial for Elder Corrine M. Ford, born 1 June 1926, died 1 March 2014. There's a picture of Elder Corrine M. Ford there, and it looks as if she's wearing her Sunday best with her Sunday bonnet on her head. And here is what it says: the part of life we miss. It has been 4 years since you departed this life and left us here to grieve. You were the root that held this family together, a solid foundation indeed. It is so hard to continue this life without you, and it is a lot harder than it seems. Everything reminds us of you and makes us hate you had to leave. God's plan is bigger than ours, so we never live with regret. You were this awesome woman, and that we can never forget. But it does give our hearts joy to know that we will see you once again. If we live right, like you taught us, our reward will be at the end. Those streets of gold you always spoke about, we will one day walk with you. Until that day approaches, we will continue to think of you. And this was written by Antoinette L. Ford, the granddaughter. And there's a small piece below it that says, from your loving family, Susie, Bishop, Doris, Brenda, Tommy, Jackie, and all of the grandchildren.
Wow, you brought a tear to my eye.
It was very
pretty touching.
Very touching. And now, Charles Stewart Parnell Stafford, age 78, departed this life on Monday, 19 February 2018. There will be a memorial service 3 March 2018 at 10:30 a.m. at the Elizabeth House, located at 3590 Mountain Road, Glen Allen, Virginia. A graveside service will be held at 11 a.m. on March 24, 2018 at the Morning Star Cemetery in Bland, Virginia. In lieu of flowers, memorial contributions may be made to Bland County Public Library, Post Office Box 480, Bland, Virginia 24315. Richard G. King Jr., age 56, of Sanford, died Tuesday, 20 February 2018. The funeral will be Friday at noon at the Williams Chapel Church Cemetery. The visitation will be at the Cunningham and Sons Mortuary Chapel. Family will be present at 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Thursday and from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. The burial will be at the Williams Chapel Church Cemetery. Cunningham and Sons Mortuary has been entrusted with the funeral services. Betty Jane Conklin, age 85, died peacefully on 25 February 2018 in Fayetteville, North Carolina. The funeral will be held at 11 a.m. on Thursday, 1 March 2018 at Sullivan's Funeral Home in Fayetteville, with visitation from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And the burial will follow at Davis Melvin Cemetery in White Oak, North Carolina. Online condolences may be made at sullivanshighland.com. Services are entrusted to Sullivan Highland Funeral Service and Crematory Incorporated. Donald Chris McCrae, age 70, of Sanford, died Tuesday, 27 February 2018. The funeral will be on Friday at 3 p.m. at the Baptist Church in Sanford. Visitation will be at the Baptist Chapel Church in Sanford on Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The burial will be at the Summer Hill Presbyterian Church located in Lillington. O'Quinn Peebles Phillips Funeral Home of Lillington has been entrusted with the funeral services. Anthony Locklear, age 57, of Maxton, died Tuesday, 27 February 2018. The funeral will be on Thursday, that's today, at 2:30 p.m., located at the Cherokee Chapel Holiness Methodist Church. The visitation will be at the Cherokee Chapel Holiness Methodist Church on Thursday from 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. The burial will be at the Cherokee Chapel Holiness Methodist Church. The Bowles Funeral Home of Red Springs has been entrusted with the funeral services. Christine Lavette Freeman, age 94, of Lumberton, died Wednesday, 28 February 2018. The funeral will be on Friday at 3 p.m. at the West Bladenboro Baptist Church. The visitation will be at the West Bladenboro Baptist Church on Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And the burial will be at the Lewis Cemetery in Bladenboro. Bladen Gaskins has been entrusted with the funeral services. Bonnie Aurelia Lewis, age 78, of Harrisburg, died Saturday, 24 February 2018. The funeral will be on Saturday at noon at the Beauty Spot Baptist Church. The visitation will be at the Colvin Funeral Home Chapel on Friday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And the burial will be at the Cumberland Gardens. Colvin Funeral Home and Crematory is in charge of those funeral services. Ethelene Hewitt of Hallsboro died Wednesday, 28 February 2018. The funeral will be on Saturday at 1:30 p.m. at the Hallsboro Church of God. Visitation will be at the Peacock Funeral Home on Friday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And the burial will be at the Whiteville Memorial Cemetery. Reuben Howard Robbins, age 63, of Durham, formerly of Fayetteville, died Monday, 19 February 2018. The memorial will be on Saturday at 2 p.m. at the Timberlake Church of God. Lafayette Funeral Home has been entrusted with those services. And this concludes the obituaries for today, Thursday, 1 March 2018.
And Billy Graham says, don't allow yourself to become burdened by undeserved guilt. Question. Some years ago, my brother took his life. He was an alcoholic and had lots of other problems. I tried to help him, but I've always been burdened with guilt because I know I should have done more. Can God somehow help me to get over this feeling? Mrs. M. McKay. Answer. Few events, I'm convinced, are more traumatic than the suicide of someone we love. We always wonder what we could have done to prevent it, and almost inevitably we feel guilty because we didn't understand their pain, and we didn't do more to help them. I gather this has been your experience. Two important truths come to mind as I read your letter. First, even when we failed others in ways we didn't even realize at the time, God still loves us, and He freely offers us His forgiveness and grace. Remember, when Jesus Christ went to the cross, He took upon Himself every sin you and I ever committed, or ever would commit. Jesus' invitation is for you to come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. From the book of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 28. Second, don't be a captive to the past, and especially to undeserved guilt. You tried to help your brother, but even if you could have done more, he still might have refused your help. We must leave the past in God's hands, and then ask God to help us be more sensitive and compassionate in the future. As a footnote, whenever I answer a question about suicide, I'm always aware that someone reading this may be contemplating taking their own life. I pray you won't take that final terrible step, but will realize that God deeply loves you, and He wants to give you hope for the future. Seek His help and the help of others. Now, readers, you can write to the Reverend Billy Graham at the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, 1 Billy Graham Parkway, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28201, or call 877-2-GRAHAM. And the website for the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association is at billygraham.org.Tribune Media Services.
And now we have a little something from Dear Abby, or for Dear Abby. The title of this first question is, The Wife Cannot Watch as a Friend Abuses Her Husband's Generosity.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Dear Abby, my husband loaned a dear friend of mine some money a year ago, and she has yet to pay back one single penny of that loan. When I ask my husband about it, why, he gets mad and tells me that it is none of my business. I have hinted to her about some large bills that we have accumulated and that we need to pay, but she doesn't respond at all. Other than that, my husband and I have a great marriage and love each other very much. I just don't like her taking advantage of my husband's generosity. I know taking care of his friends gives him great pleasure, but he has been burned before, and I cannot see it happening again, and I find it hard to ignore. What should I do? Signed, Sick of It in New Hampshire. Dear Sick of It in New Hampshire, I wish you had mentioned whether you work and the money your soft-touch hubby gave his friend was partly earned by you. If that's the case, well, I certainly don't blame you for being upset. While I'm not sure you can prevent your husband from doing this again, I do think you are within your rights to insist that before he does this again, he discusses it with you. If he will do that, perhaps the two of you can find an alternative for the person other than just handing out your money to any freeloader that asked for it. Boy, she was tough then.
Yeah.
Whew, I like that. Dear Abby, my son passed away unexpectedly a little over 8 years ago. He was only 21 years old. At the time, he had been dating a very, very nice young lady. And you know, we kept in touch for a while after the funeral. Letters and emails mostly. As you see, I moved out of state, but things gradually tapered off. I have been able to keep somewhat informed about her life because of the magic of social media. That's right. And of course, mutual friends she shared with my son, who sometimes still contact me. Well, I recently learned that she is going to get married within the next 2 weeks. I'm just wondering, Abby, if it would be wrong or weird of me to send her a congratulatory card or note to the happy couple. I wish only to continued happiness for her and her future husband. Signed, Wishing Happiness. Dear Wishing Happiness, I see absolutely nothing wrong or weird about you sending her a nice card. And when you do, be sure to tell her not only that you wish her a happy future, but also that she will always have a very special place in your heart. And the last question for Dear Abby. Dear Abby, would it be appropriate for someone to tell someone else's children to stop doing something dangerous if the parent is not around? I'm talking about kids holding scissors the wrong way, or running with them, or pushing others, etc., etc., etc. Now, my children are in their teens now and know that such behavior is wrong. If it were the other way around, I would be grateful if someone cared enough to tell my children that a behavior is wrong and or dangerous. Signed, Glad in the Mideast. Dear Glad in the Mideast, how else would children know if they were not warned? To speak up would be an act of kindness, particularly if they were doing something that could cause harm to themselves or others. Now, you readers out there, if you have a little problem, something that's just rubbing you the wrong way, or just a question for Dear Abby, you can write to her at Dear Abby, Post Office Box 69440, Los Angeles, California 90069, or if you would prefer, you can contact her at dearabby.com.
All right, here's one of our very favorite places in the newspaper, the horoscope by Stella Wilder. Now, if you were born today, you can thank your lucky stars that you are one of those rare individuals who seems to have it all. While what you have going for you may be specifically unique to you, all of those who encounter you will recognize it almost at once. So strong is your aura and the energy you send out to the world at large. Wow, how's your aura?
My aura is always good.
Well, I have a good aura too.
I have a glowing aura.
What color is your aura?
It's, it's kind of blue and green and, yellow. It's a beautiful aura.
Mine too.
You have to put on rose-colored glasses to see it.
There you go. Well, Pisces, February 19th to March 20th. Pisces, you're likely to win a great many supporters today, merely by doing what you believe in. It's as simple as that, Pisces. Don't waste time. Aries, March 21st through April 19th. Aries, you may have one or two more things to say to someone who thought that your interaction had been concluded. This is necessary info. Taurus, come on, step up. April 20th to May 20th. Whether an event is good or bad, Taurus, for you will depend in large part upon your ability to remain open to what follows. Gemini, May 21st to June 20th. Gemini, are you willing to admit to wrongdoing in the past? Perhaps it would be best for you to acknowledge your imperfections at this time. Cancer, June 21st to July 22nd. Cancer, you're certain to learn more from those who do not agree with you than from those who do. You must be willing to listen attentively. Leo, July 23rd through August 22nd. Leo, any obstacles that appear today can be avoided if you're willing to change course and risk losing time. Virgo, August 23rd through September 22nd. Virgo, the more willing you are to acknowledge another's point of view, the more others will be willing to listen to you when it's your turn. Libra, September 23rd to October 22nd. Anticipation is the key to success at this time. The more you can foresee, the more you can prevent, if it is preventable. Scorpio, October 23rd to November 21st. Scorpio, you're not likely to have things your way today, but that's no matter, as you are far more able to adjust now than you were before. Sagittarius, November 22nd to December 21st. Saggy, you'll have to deal with the influence being exerted by someone who may be considered an interloper by many. Capricorn, December 22nd to January 19th. Capricorn, you're eager to see things return to normal at this time. But what is that? Nothing will revert to the way it used to be. And finally, Aquarius, January 20th to February 18th. Aquarius, you can prove loyalty today, but you'll want something in return. Make your desires known ahead of time. You needn't compromise. Remember, here it is, your horoscope for Thursday, March 1st, 2018.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the People's Pharmacy. Now, I have done a quick scan of this article, and nowhere do I see any medications that I cannot pronounce. I believe this is a letter written to Joe and Teresa Graydon of the People's Pharmacy, talking about, and here's the question that this nurse has written, and she discusses with Joe and Teresa Graydon, why do nursing homes give patients risky antipsychotics? Here we go. Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a little bit of a grind to get through this, but we're going to do our best. Weighing benefits against risks is a delicate balancing act. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the prescribing of antipsychotic drugs in nursing homes or assisted living facilities. Human Rights Watch recently reported that antipsychotic drugs are administered to more than 179,000 people in nursing facilities every week. And these patients have not been diagnosed with schizophrenia or other mental illnesses for which the drugs are approved. Instead, many are suffering from dementia. The Food and Drug Administration warns that elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis treated with antipsychotic drugs are at an increased risk of death. The Food and Drug Administration notes that antipsychotic drugs are not approved for the treatment of patients with dementia-related psychosis. This admonition seems to be written in black and white. Unfortunately, Many people with dementia live in a confusing world with shades of gray when it comes to treatments. We have heard from many readers who are connected. Now this is where Teresa and Joe Graydon kick in. They say that we have heard from many readers who are concerned about the new expose from Human Rights Watch. One person wrote, antipsychotics, if chosen and administered carefully, and if the patient is monitored, can be a real lifesaver. My father had multiple strokes that disabled him and also had dementia and some depression. The medical team at his nursing home collaborated with the family to find the right medications to improve his quality of life by easing his extreme agitation. Seroquel, that's an easy one to pronounce, at the lowest possible dose gave him a semblance of normalcy and got him through early evening, which for him was typically the worst time. It is important to find the right medication and to read the literature for side effects. Certain drugs increase the risk of, number 1, falls, and number 2, death. Haldol, for instance, is at the top of the list for these risks when used with elderly patients. Another person had quite a different experience. My very competent, independent elderly mother had an acute episode of confusion a few years ago. Instead of getting a thorough workup, she got in parentheses, a ludicrous diagnosis of Alzheimer's, in which they told me must have been hiding until the previous day. When her undiagnosed actual condition continued to get worse, her confusion turned into agitation. So they gave her benzos and ultimately added antipsychotics. 2 months later, my mother was a vacant, enfeebled shell of herself and had to be moved to assisted living. I spent 2 years finding better doctors and working with them to eliminate inappropriate medications, including antipsychotics. Today, my mother is her old, competent, well-balanced, intelligent self, but the inappropriate medications took away her independence and 2 years of her life. Still, ladies and gentlemen, another reader offered a professional's perspective. I have been on both sides of this issue as well. As a nurse, I see benefits as well as problems with these medications. I am thinking some anti-anxiety medication is needed at certain times. That's anti-anxiety medication. It is not a benefit to anyone, including the patients, to have them wandering, crying, and agitated all the time, because they may attempt to strike out at the staff physically. I have also seen drooling and patients gorked, which means unresponsive, from too much medication. What quality of life is it to be too agitated and upset? So, as a nurse, and together with the doctors, we had to monitor all patients on these medications very closely. And I would rather see them used than having none at all. And I'm going to say that it is a tough call. Walking the tightrope that this nurse describes, and this is from Joe and Teresa now, walking the tightrope that this nurse describes requires very careful medical oversight. And, very important, ladies and gentlemen, listen up, families need to be involved in the decisions regarding antipsychotic medications. If you have some questions about this article, or you would just want to write Joe and Teresa Graydon, you can do so at their website. It's called thepeoplespharmacy.com. Oh, and now I'd like to say that the time is 11:35 in the morning. It's Thursday. It's the 1st of March, 2018, and this is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service. It is a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. And when making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at 910-672-1600 or the toll-free number 844-709-5656. And I would also like to remind you about the Gates Ford Golf and Country Club fundraiser. It will help the blind and visually impaired. Cost $250 per team, per golf team, or $65 per golf player. Lunch and dinner is provided. There's a free beverage cart also provided. It is a $400 value. This golf fundraiser is on Saturday, 7 April 2018. Registration begins at 11 o'clock and the tee-off is 12 noon. There is a 4 p.m. dining hour that will include hamburgers and hot dogs and a pasta bar. And afterwards there will be an award ceremony. There is a $500 cash prize. I believe it goes to the first place team overall, and the second place gets a Gates Ford golf certificate. And of course there is a selected hole on the golf course that will go to the person that makes a hole in one. The first person that makes a hole in one on that designated hole, and they will win a new Chevrolet car. So remember, get your calendars out and mark it down. 7 April 2018, Saturday. Registration begins at 11 in the morning. And your radio hosts today have been, or are, Clark and
Nancy.
And we are proud to serve you today.
Okay, we go to Reverend Billy Graham. He is praised by Trump as America's pastor. Then we have a picture of our President Donald Trump touching the casket of Reverend Billy Graham, died last week at the age of 99. This ceremony in the picture is taking place at the Capitol Rotunda, where he will lie in honor as a tribute to America's most famous evangelist, Wednesday in Washington, D.C. Laurie Kilman from the Associated Press says the president gently touched the bare wood of Billy Graham's casket. The Speaker of the House bowed his head, and hundreds of other lawmakers, family, and friends stood in a rare salute Wednesday to the man they called America's pastor. He ministered wall walks from some of the greats whose statues lined this hall: Eisenhower, King, Ford, and Reagan, to the everyday citizens lining up today to pay their respects, said House Speaker Paul Ryan, gesturing to Graham's casket under the eye of the Capitol Rotunda. President Donald Trump, who met Graham but is closer to his son Franklin, nonetheless recalled that the elder Graham had long been part of his life. Trump said his father, Fred, said to me, "Come on, son, let's go see Billy Graham at Yankee Stadium," and it was something very special. He called Graham an ambassador for Christ, who reminded the world of the power of prayer and the gift of God's grace. Graham's influence stretched far beyond the city, where he counseled presidents and lawmakers to a global flock over the better part of 7 decades. He is known for having met every president, Trump included, and counseled most. But he learned to be wary of the heat of politics. Close to Richard Nixon, Graham later said the details of the Watergate scandal made him feel used. But the world of American politics and government embraced Graham on Wednesday, a week after he died at age 99. Those gathered, including Vice President Mike Pence, some members of Trump's cabinet and members of the House and Senate, stood around the casket. They were ringed by paintings of the nation's founder. The man we recognize today shared the gospel with more people face to face than anyone else in history, said Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. As the leader stood by the casket, Trump reached out to touch it. Ryan nearby bowed his head. Some 30 family members accompanied Graham's casket to Washington, where he had befriended presidents of both parties. Graham's son Franklin tweeted a photo Wednesday of family members loading the casket onto a jet emblazoned with Samaritan's Purse, the name of a Christian relief charity that he chairs. Graham is lying in honor before a funeral Friday, tomorrow, near his home in North Carolina. The rotunda entrances were draped with black fabric, and Graham's casket rested on a black draped catafalque beneath the soaring ceiling, and its painting the apotheosis of Washington. Graham felt burned by Nixon for years. Nixon's White House tapes released in 2002 included Graham's voice telling the president that Jews don't know how I really feel about what we're doing to this country, he apologized. Nonetheless, he ministered to other presidents until his health began to fail. Former President Bill Clinton recalled seeing one of Graham's crusades as a child, a profound experience that became more amazing over his life. Graham counseled him as Arkansas governor and later as president in the White House itself. In that little room, he was the same person I saw when I was 11 on that football field, Clinton said Tuesday after viewing the casket at Graham's home.
And here we have a small little article that I think you will enjoy very much. It's called Taking Care of Business and Working Overtime. And I heard this on the radio yesterday, and now I'd like to share this with you. This is one set of pay raises that definitely are not linked to the tax cuts that took effect earlier this year. But these babies are beauties. Our governor, Roy Cooper, has treated his cabinet members very well indeed. All 10 of his cabinet members got pay raises that average 10% at the first of the year. Wonder why they tried to shove this under the carpet. Well, let's find out. They were pay bumps that ranged from $13,000 to nearly $22,000 a year. That's a pay raise. That's unbelievable, isn't it?
It is.
Here we are trying to nug it out and making pennies and dimes and nickels. And those aren't the only raises cabinet members have gotten in the year since they've been in office. At least one cabinet member, the Health and Human Services Secretary, Mandy Cohen, has seen her salary rise by more than $50,000, ladies and gentlemen. All of the cabinet members make more than their boss, and that their boss is the governor. Cooper's gubernatorial salary, that's our Governor Roy Cooper, he makes $144,349 a year. But see, we don't know all the perks that he gets, like being TDY, temporary duty, and all that. The little things we don't see in the fine print. By contrast, the last raise the rest of the state employees got was $1,000. Some of them doubtless will chafe at the different standard for the folks way up there at the top of the glass castle. We feel that pain, but we also know that good management does not come cheap. Every one of those cabinet secretaries could be making bigger bucks in the private sector. Well, why aren't they in the private sector then, Nancy?
I don't know.
Maybe they can't get there. Good managers are hard to find, and it appears that Governor Roy Cooper has found talented leaders for those key administrative jobs. But speaking of pay, we are seeing signs that inflation is reawakening after a long recession-induced slumber. When the General Assembly returns to Raleigh for its short session budget tweaking, we hope there will be some more raises for the state employees who work for those cabinet secretaries. End of article. Nancy?
We have some short letters to the editor. Gold medal blood donors. This is written by Virginia Bullard. She's the chairperson for the Beaver Dam Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary Blood Drive. The phrase "going for the gold" is very much in the news these days because of the Olympics. The donors for the February 20th blood drive at the Beaver Dam Fire Department had their own "going for the gold," as 53 donors signed in, yielding a fantastic total of 48 units of blood. We never cease to be amazed with the faithfulness of our regular donors, as well as the new ones coming in who will hopefully return in the future. The staff on the vessel from the Cape Fear Valley Blood Donor Center strive to make donors feel comfortable, while the ladies from the Beaver Dam Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary work hard to have the best hot dogs available. We appreciate the outstanding support of the following vendors: Food Lion in Roseboro, who donated hamburger for the delicious homemade hot dog chili; Salem Pizza in Salemburg; Logan's Roadhouse in Fayetteville; Golden Corral in Fayetteville; and Giorgio's in Elizabethtown for their gift cards for door prizes, as well as McDonald's donations of an extra value meal coupon for each donor who signs in. The unselfish efforts on the part of everyone working together at this particular blood drive could possibly save as many as 144 lives. Thank you, everyone. Virginia Bullard, Chairperson, Beaver Dam Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary Blood Drive.
And here's something of interest. Pure maple syrup versus white sugar. Pure maple syrup has a range of health benefits for you. It contains antioxidants, trace minerals, and vitamins. There is minimal processing involved, and it's lower on the glycemic index than white sugar. It also has about half the calories of raw honey. And maybe we should start putting maple syrup in our coffee.
It might be good.
It might be good, but I prefer honey in the coffee.
Yeah, those bees.
Those bees.
Help me out a lot.
I have not had the flu because of the honey.
That's right.
But here's how to substitute maple syrup for sugar when you are baking something. If your recipe calls for 1 cup of sugar, use between 2/3 and 3/4 of a cup of pure maple syrup. But you will also need to reduce any liquid in your recipe because you are adding a liquid sugar. Then turn down your oven approximately 25 degrees. You will find that pure maple syrup caramelizes at a lower temperature than dry sugar does. And this also means that your baking time will need to be a little longer as well. Finally, read the label on your maple syrup. You do not want to use pancake or table maple syrup. These have been cut with high fructose corn syrup, and they likely contain caramel coloring. At least 65% of the sugar in maple syrup must be sucrose in order for it to be considered pure.
Let's go to the in brief section of the paper. It's very short. This comes from the Associated Press. From the NHL, stall, terminal birth defect led to infant daughter's death. From Raleigh, Carolina Hurricanes captain Jordan Stahl and his wife say their infant daughter died of a terminal birth defect. The team released a statement Wednesday from Stahl and his wife Heather. Hurricanes announced Hannah's death Sunday, though they didn't publicly reveal the cause. In the statement, the Stahls say it had been a longer road than most people know, and that they prayed for a miracle, but that Hannah was stillborn. They say they are very thankful for our short time with her. They also thanked friends, family, and the hockey community for support. The Hurricanes say Stahl rejoined the team Wednesday and is expected to play today against Philadelphia. College, UCF, North Carolina, add 2 more football games in 2024 and 2025. Chapel Hill, UCF, and North Carolina have extended their football series to add another 2 home and home matchups in 2024 and 2025. The schools announced the additional 2 games Wednesday. They announced a 2-game series in August 2016, starting with the Knights visiting the Tar Heels in Chapel Hill in September, followed by the Tar Heels visiting Orlando in Week 1 of the 2020 season. Now they will also play at UNC in September 2024, followed by another game at UCF in September 2025. The teams have never met in football. From the Associated Press.
And now we have something from Leonard Pitts Jr. As you know, Leonard Pitts Jr. is the winner of the 2004 Pulitzer Prize for Commentary, and he is a columnist for the Miami Herald. Leonard says to us, hierarchies of violence and justice. People were furious that Breonna Harmon Talbot was raped by black men. She actually wasn't, but we will get to that now. For now, let's concern ourselves with the way some folks responded after the then 18-year-old white girl from Pottsboro, Texas, stumbled into a church last March, clad only in a shirt, and panties, and bleeding from cuts, and claiming to have been abducted by 3 African-American men in ski masks. This is going to be a brutally honest post, her mother wrote on Facebook. Today, my daughter, Breonna Harmon Talbot, was taken by force by 3 black men. 2 of them raped her, and she is cut on the head, head to toe by a knife. The brutally honest post struck a chord with the far right, and social media lit up with angry demands for vengeance upon the non-existent black men. Lord, find these animals, give them what they deserve, said one. Said another, if the races were reversed, this would be national news. These men deserve to be hanged. One railed about black thugs. Another mused, whites need a mafia. So if you want to rape a white girl like Breonna Talbot, the white mafia finds you and your family and then puts you down. But actually, They tried that already. It was called the Ku Klux Klan. But leave that aside. Instead, let's confront the glaring moral hypocrisy at the heart of all this outrage, meaning that these people were angrier at the idea that the girl was raped by black men than at the idea that she was raped at all. Again, she was not actually raped. Rather, she had staged this crime, complete with an abandoned car and self-inflicted wounds, after arguing with her boyfriend. Police doubted her tale almost from the beginning. She was arrested 2 weeks later. Last week, she pleaded guilty to multiple felonies stemming from tampering with or fabricating evidence. But though the case now stands resolved, that moral hypocrisy is anything but. As has been noted before in this space, this country has evolved a hierarchy of violence wherein we assess threats by race and culture. In that hierarchy, black and Muslims are automatically dangerous. People outside those demographic boxes are innocent until proven otherwise. Consider the carnage in Parkland, Florida. The FBI ignored multiple tips that the 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz was planning a mass shooting. And he was ask yourself, would the agency have been so laggard had it received the same tip about a 19-year-old named, say, let's just say, Muhammad? I believe that's doubtful. Similarly, for many people, the notion of this girl being raped was significantly less awful than the notion of her being raped by black men. Would any actual rape victim ever feel that way? Would any woman ever say, well, I feel traumatized, violated, and angry, but I'm thankful my rapist was white? It's a ridiculous idea, but where race and culture are concerned, Americans are often a ridiculous people. Unfortunately, our hierarchy of violence is not just ridiculous, it is also dangerous. In linking certain crimes with certain people, we miss threats that are right in front of us. Again, consider Parkland, Florida. Breonna Harmon Talbot understood this hierarchy, if only instinctively. And there is, for African Americans, a terrible resonance in what this girl did. No one will ever know how many black men have been lied into jail or onto lynching ropes by white girls and women just like her. And yes, the occasional white man, as in the Duke lacrosse team, has endured the reverse injustice, albeit without the lynching ropes. Under her plea agreement, Breonna Harmon Talbot will receive probation or deferred adjudications. Either way, she will see no jail time for her lies, nor should we be surprised. There is a hierarchy of justice too. This, again, was written by Leonard Pitts Jr. He is the winner of the 2004 Pulitzer Prize for commentary. If you would like to contact him, you can write to him at Leonard Pitts Jr., the Miami Herald, 3511 Northwest 91st Avenue, Doral, Florida, 33172. This concludes our broadcast of the Fayetteville Observer. Your hosts have been Clark and
Nancy.
And at 2 p.m., please listen to the Southern Pine Pilots. At 4 p.m., you can hear Off the Bookshelf. Additionally, you will hear a rebroadcast of today's Fayetteville Observer tonight at 9 p.m. We will soon join the Raleigh Network for additional news of interest. I would like to remind you again once more about the Gates Ford Golf and Country Club fundraiser tournament on the 7th of April 2018, Saturday. Thank you for tuning us in. We have enjoyed being with you this morning, and we wish that you would have a wonderful day today.